Well, hello again. We are finally, after I think one of our subscribers pointed out yesterday that it's been a month and 16 days. But who's counting, I guess, huh? Since we were back to the jukebox. We are now back to the bench. You know, it's one of those things around here. As soon as spring and summer hits, there's all kinds of distractions that happen. I don't get locked into the shop here in the wintertime, or like I do in the wintertime. I mean, there's all kinds of things. Matter of fact, at the beginning of next month, in about a week or more, we're going to redo our family budget for the month of June, and we're going to go ahead and pick up our floor tiles and finish up the job in the dining room. So that's going to, take at least a day or two away from the bench, but that's okay. I mean, that's what it's all about. And also, June 12th of next month is the Pettigene Car Show and Swap Meet I was telling you about in a previous video. And I will be attending that. I'll be looking for some parts for the old Thunderbird. Can't wait to get up there and do that. That's great. They have so many vendors. That is a 5-day event. That's how big it is. All right. First thing we need to do here is we have a couple of belated shout-outs I have to cover. I know the two individuals involved probably thought I forgot all about it. I never forget, guys. It just takes time sometimes. I got to get back into the swing. The first shout out we're going to do involves, I'm a junk collector, Don up there in Ohio. He sent me a box of 45 RPM records. I showed you that in the previous video. He also sent me a Looney Tunes, Mr. Potato Head, and he sent me a little micro switch that he thought might fit on the jukebox here for the record trip, the trip switch. Well, that was too small. There wasn't even any way you could hook it up. So the one we got works fine, but I do appreciate him at least trying. That was a very good gesture on his part. And that whole box of 45 RPM records was really neat. Now, I don't think I'll be using all of them. I think what I'll do is go through, pick the ones I like, and then donate the rest in Don's name to a local flea market. Maybe the St. Joseph's Catholic Church flea market in town here. That's how they make a lot of money. They really do service the community for the poor folks and clothes and all kinds of things. You see a lot of women in there in that flea market getting baby clothes for their kids and even clothes for themselves, So we'll do that for Dawn after I've, sorted through them again. I just haven't had a whole lot of time. For those of you who keep up with my videos, I've been pretty busy of late. But we accomplished a whole lot. We really did. So, for what Don did, I'm a junk collector. We're going to give that young man a shout out. Our next individual that we want to recognize is, of course, along with Don, who it seems like I'm always doing shout outs for him. He's such a good feller. We have one that fits the same category, and that's Scott. Scott Johnston out there in Virginia, who just now returned from ham benching. And he sent me some 12AX7 tubes and a 5R4 rectifier tube for our amplifier. I tested all the tubes. Only a couple of them were good. But I went ahead and put in a tube order with Bob Dobush at Find a Tube, so all the tubes came in. And I now have enough tubes to do the job. And he also sent me a 12AT7. And I'm not sure a 12AT7 will take the place of a 12AX7. But it doesn't matter. I've got it, and I'll probably need it in the future. And, he was thinking of me, and I greatly appreciate that. Scott's a good boy. So, for him also, matter of fact, here's the rectifier tube he sent me. And the 12AT7 he sent. And he also sent this frequency book. Man, I'll tell you what, I hadn't had a chance to go through it all, but I'm going to sit down and kind of leaf through this. This looks very interesting. It's Homeland Security, various frequencies. This is kind of neat. There's all kinds of stuff in here. I'm not sure I'll be interested in looking at it all, but there are tons of frequencies in different states, different codes. Wow, there is so much stuff here. It makes me wonder who on earth even does this kind of stuff. You've got to be some kind of strange person to be able to spend your life doing that. Anyway, for what he did, we all know what that means also. Shout out to our good subscriber, Scott Johnston. And this time, instead of hooking up a power cord from these two connectors that supply the heater voltage and running it over here to the variable, the variac, and the variable AC supply, and then making a mistake and taking the wrong plug and plugging it in there, I went ahead and hooked up my DC power supply, and I'm supplying about 5.9 volts right now. Let's get it up there about 6. Okay. It's hovering between the two. And so this, what I did was, instead of connecting and disconnecting, I just went ahead and ran a couple of jumper wires to the back side of these two right here, so they'll be there permanently. I don't have to worry about plugging and unplugging, which is what I should have done to begin with, because I discussed this with Brendan in advance. I said, should I go with DC? He said, your tubes would probably like it a whole lot better than AC anyway. Well, I stuck with the AC because I already had it hooked up. I was lazy. It cost me. Alright, all the tubes are back in the chassis, and I want you to know I did a test run. I took the 12AT7 that Scott Johnson sent me, and I plugged it in each of the holes to see if I wanted to make sure that I was getting filament voltage to each of the tube sockets. And then of course somebody said, why did you just test the voltage on the bottom of the socket? Because I didn't want to. I wanted to make sure the socket was okay also. You know, this thing took a heck of a hit. And you know, in the process of testing on each socket individually with that one tube to make sure the heater lit up, I did find a burned off pin that had fried right off, and it was stuck down in the socket. That's why you do those kinds of things. And I was happy to say that once I got that little pin out, all the tube sockets showed good heater voltage, and I have since plugged in all the tubes and tested them, and they all light up. Man, I'll tell you what, considering what happened, that is amazing. Alright, I was, before we shut off all this crap and got away for about a month or more, I was using a signal tracer to go through and injecting my signal here, 500 kilocycles, from our good old triplet signal generator, which was working pretty good, it seemed to me. But then when I decided to do it again, after, you know, we're back on the bench now, I decided to do it again because I couldn't remember exactly. I wanted to make sure my mind was right all the way through. I realized that I was getting false hits. I was getting false signals utilizing that signal tracer. So I said, I think the best thing we need to do then is take the signal generator off the bench, or the signal tracer off the bench, which I have done. And now listen, this is what, just to remind everyone, this is what the channel 2 sounded like. Nice and loud. Now, I don't have it cranked up all the way, of course, but now we go to channel 1. See how low it is? Very low. Well, there's a problem between here and the speaker. So somewhere out in here is our problem. So what I'm going to do is, instead of using signal tracing, I'm going to use signal injection. We're going to go to each of the tube control grids and plates all the way through and try to find out the area that we're having our problem. And I think what we're going to find out is right down in here is where our problem is. This massive crap right here. Now I've already removed the speaker wafer switch and test switch. And cleaned it out and put brand new capacitors in there. Those were 2.01 caps, and I'll show you that later in the schematic. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. We're just going to take this little lead. I'm going to probably hook a probe to it, you know, a regular old multimeter probe. Remove this, hook it to the probe, and then just probe through. It'll be a whole lot easier. And this way it's going to be done. But right now, wifey wants me to take her down to, wants me to take her and great grandma down to Walmart. So I'm going to have to do that first. Alright, we are back. A little tired from walking all over Walmart, plus a lot poorer. Every time I go to Walmart, they milk me dry in my wallet practically. After poking around about 30-40 minutes here, there, and everywhere, and then the signal still remaining very weak on channel 1, You know, I went back and I decided to start checking plate voltages on our tubes, which is standard operating procedure. You know, I just went ahead and jotted them down on the schematic as I went. You know, here's 390, 328. Here's another one of 378, 376. Kept going back. I figured, what the heck? I mean, if I'm not making much progress by poking and prodding with a signal and doing signal injection, why not go back to the old basics, of course. Everything looked okay. Now, let's get over here to V103. Now, we're in the front part of the radio, right in this area here. And V103 is this little booger right here. There's this tube. I got 3 tubes. 1, 2, 3. And then I've got 1, 2, 3. Now this is 103, and that resistor you see right there, that really nice looking resistor, it's green, blue, and orange, I think is what it is. Hard to tell sometimes with these. That's our plate resistor, which would be this one right here. Jeez. There we go. Okay. I want this thing to stay full. Okay, 133 is the plate resistor for one side of this tube. It has 2 sides, I guess. And the voltage for the 2 plates comes in right here, and it's supposed to read 230 volts, which would be on pin 6, this plate right here on one side of the tube. Then it would go through the resistor and be cut down and give us 175 on the other plate, which is pin 1. Let's see, now there's the resistor I'm talking about. Now on this side is where the voltage comes in. It's supposed to be around, what I say it was, around 230 volts or so. So let's go ahead and test it, see what we get. We got a little high, about 257, okay? But that's still acceptable. Now it's supposed to go through, now that's pin 6. Now it's supposed to go through the resistor to pin 1 and give me about 175 volts on this side on pin 1 on the other plate. So we test that like that. And we get zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay. Alright, let's test the one down below, which is V109 right here. Same, you know, it comes in around 230, goes through the resistor, gets cut down to about it looks like, I don't know if that's 178 or what it is, 170 something. So let's test the input side and see what we get. Focus. Sorry for the out of focus. It's after dark, and almost after dark, and the light's really not so great here. Where's our resistor? Right there. Okay, let's test the input side. It's supposed to be around 230. And it's reading a little high, 265. I'll take it. Now let's go to the other side and test the plate. Pin 1 is supposed to be about 170 something. And it's reading about 207. Guess what? We have no plate voltage on this tube. Now what that means is that resistor is bad. Well, you know, I kind of feel better now. It's open. Let me see if I can run I'm going to see if I can put the multimeter across that and see if it gives me a reading at all. I've got the multimeter leads across the channel 2, which is the good channel, across the plate resistor that had the good voltage. And it's supposed to be 56K, well, what we've got is 62.8K. Alright, now I'm testing it in circuit. Yes, you can do that sometimes. You don't have to always take a resistor out of circuit. Okay, now we're going to put this one across here. The one that I'm pretty sure is bad. Wide open. How about them apples, huh? Let's go down a little bit, see if we get any voltage or resistance at all. Man alive, we're down in the 200 scale and we're still not getting anything. I'll bet you when I change that out in the morning, one or two things is going to happen. It's going to solve the entire problem, and the volume's going to come up like it's supposed to on both channels will be good. Or we're going to note a dramatic increase in the volume, and we're going to have to still keep troubleshooting to find out what the next problem is. Ah, the heck with it. I just went ahead and decided to throw that resistor in there. It's getting late at night. Now I won't have to do it in the morning. So let's see what happens. The good channel. Now with the new resistor in there. I think we're good. Alright. A little louder on channel 2 though. Probably some weaker components up here in the channel 1 area. I'm not going to go through and change every single one. Anyway, we're going to call that fixed. That is a pretty good deal. Alright, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to go ahead and end the video right here. And the next time you see it, I should have it all hooked up. We'll get a record playing and see if it sounds good on both speakers. Until next time, it was good to be back on the bench with the old Juke, wasn't it? Anyway, some of you all have been waiting a long time. Some of you have been more eager than I am. And I know one of them who lives up in the Detroit, Michigan area who was like that. So until next time, this is John.